why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you're doing at the show?
I'm Sumit. I'm one of the co-founders and CEO of Innatera. Very proud supporter of the Edge AI Foundation since a long time now.
Since the beginning.
Yeah,
pretty much.
And we are very proud to have introduced the world's first neuromorphic microcontroller to the market, Pulsar, last year. We're a Dutch semiconductor company. We basically build neuromorphic chips that mimic how your brain processes information, and we apply these chips towards processing data coming out of sensors in an always-on manner with high accuracy and very little power.
Wow.
The show is fantastic. I can barely hear, conversations. There's just so much noise in the background. It's that busy, and we've got a booth in Hall 3A.
3A,
It's
okay.
been super busy.
Yeah, it's been a lot of traffic, which is good. And so actually we had Weebit Nano on here earlier, the CEO of Weebit Nano, and we was talking about the type of memory that they're doing that's designed for these kind of ultra low power AI environments. So maybe people don't realize a lot of people think of AI, obviously they think of like NVIDIA and like, data centers with megawatts and stuff like that. But the stuff that you're doing, like the spiking neural network architecture, is really like many orders of magnitude less power hungry than that. And it's designed for like peel and stick type of AI sensors and wearables and things like that. Where are you seeing the first big applications for the kind of the neuromorphic technology?
When we started the company, first of all, people saw neuromorphic as a science experiment.
Yep.
And then around 2020, the first acknowledgement that there was a power problem around traditional AI actually started coming out into the open. It's only this year and perhaps last year that we saw people stopping, with the use of generic words like AI and talking about actually what they're doing. So we've got this sensor, we're looking for the sound of a leak coming out of some place. It becomes super tangible. And these are the kind of use cases that we're also seeing emerging. It's very clear that AI in the physical world is going to be extremely important. The kind of devices on which it's going to be performed will very likely be battery powered, very compact, indeed designed to just be stuck up into a place that you don't want to go and access repeatedly.
Yeah.
And you definitely don't have the energy capacity in the batteries to keep streaming data somewhere else. So all of this leads us to this always-on domain. And neuromorphic is really shining there. So we've got this fantastic solution for radar presence sensing using our chips.
Radar presence sensing.
Can you detect if there's a human being in a room?
Okay.
Even
like
if they're not
occupancy
moving.
detection
Exactly.
using radar.
Yeah, and the advantage there is you can be perfectly still and you don't have to deal with that problem that we're all familiar with, waving at the sensor to get the lights to turn back on.
Classic.
You don't have any of that.
Yeah, I think you mentioned to me an interesting scenario around room occupancy. I mean, this is kind of a big trend. It's like almost like doing computer vision without cameras, by measuring kind of these other signals. So like you mentioned like a hotel, you can't put a camera obviously in a hotel room, but the hotel wants to know how many people are in the room. Maybe like in a fire situation or an emergency, the fire department could use this technology to understand which rooms actually have people in them or not, right? So it's really important to figure out how to use like all of these interesting signals using AI to basically extract the information from the signals.
Exactly. We've got a customer in India who's building an intelligent smoke detector which does just that. It identifies the kind of smoke in a room. It identifies then if there are people in that room and how many people are there. And if you really think about it, what you're trying to do is make the world around you intelligent, create this ambient intelligence.
Right.
We need to go into devices where we haven't really thought of putting intelligence just as yet.
Right.
And that's basically what neuromorphic and generally energy efficient edge AI is enabling.
Right. The other thing too about like a lot of the peel and stick or battery powered things is, and I've seen this case studies where the deployment costs are very low, right? Because you don't have to run power, you don't have to run cabling and other things. And so because the deployment costs are low, you think like in hospitals and other things, you actually get much more deployment of the solution faster, right? Because you don't have to budget, for all this like disruptive deployment work, right? So that's another big benefit.
Exactly. There are certain environments where pulling out a few meters of wiring just to hook up a new device, a new sensor can easily set you back, thousands of dollars just for a single installation. And that's aside from the running cost of, streaming data up to the cloud and having central compute monitoring all of this data.
Right.
When you really start to look at the big picture of how much things cost to install, how much things cost to run, it becomes very clear that distributing intelligence to the source of where data is being generated is really the only way to scale it.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So, have you seen anything else here other than your own stuff that's really cool? Like, what's kind of, maybe it's early, it's only the first day, but anything really you would tell people to make sure you go see?
It's the first day. I've only been able to see the immediate vicinity of our home.
Okay.
I did see a guy walking a robotic dog.
Oh, okay.
Which was a cute sight.
Yeah.
But I still have to get around.
Okay.
On my way here, I saw some pretty neat boats. I'm going to go back and
I know,
check them out.
some pretty impressive stuff out there. I took a little lap to try to get some food at lunch, and there was a giant line, so I came back.
I didn't manage. I didn't manage.
That's always a struggle. Well, great to see you again, Sumit. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you
joining
for having
us.
me.